So 2024 is officially upon us, and we kick off the year with a bit of an upsetting news story. I am talking about an article that DJ Mag recently put out stating that 2023 here in the UK was one of the worst years for grassroots venue closures. We lost 125 venues last year, which is an absolutely staggering amount. And as someone that is really passionate about the late night economy, bars, nightclubs, and entertainment spaces, this is pretty upsetting news. And I am a little bit worried for the future of nightlife here in the UK. I actually fear that the number of venues lost goes far higher than the 125 quoted in this particular article, because whilst it talks about grassroots venues, I don't think this includes a lot of the commercial high street type bars and nightclubs which I work in, and I have certainly known of a considerable amount being lost last year. Now, of course, this is a bit of a negative topic, and I hate bringing negativity to the channel. However, if you've watched any of my videos, I do always like to keep things real, and I think that this is an important topic to at least discuss, talk about, raise awareness of, because quite frankly, I don't want to see nightlife in this country, or any country for that matter, die out completely. So in this video, completely off script, like I've not scripted anything, so apologies if I waffle or repeat any points. I want to talk about some of the reasons why I think this is happening, why are we losing these venues, and also talk about the little things that perhaps we can all do if you are passionate about this industry to try and I guess turn the tide on this and slow the closures of these venues moving forward. One thing is for certain though, if you are starting out as a DJ looking to get DJ gigs, or if you're even a well-established DJ and you are looking to continue into 2024, I think buckle yourself in. It's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride, and I think the one key skill that anyone needs in this industry in 2024 is resilience. You've definitely got to stick to your guns, knock on more doors than ever before in order to find yourself and secure work, and also network with as many people as possible. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So why are venues closing down here in the UK? Well, I don't think there's one particular reason for this. There's a lot of different factors chipping away at the industry, and the result, unfortunately, is now compounding, and we're seeing mass venue closures. One of the reasons, and I don't want to get too political on this channel, that's not the idea of these videos, but it cannot be overlooked, is government policy, both at a national and also as well a local level. This goes back quite a number of years, and the first government policy that really impacted nightclubs in particular was late night licenses being granted to pubs and other establishments like restaurants. There was like a 24-hour license, but back in the day, pubs had to be closed by 11 o'clock, and the only establishments that you could go to post 11 o'clock to get served alcohol or anything like that was, or to even be open really late into the night, was a nightclub. That changed quite a few years ago now. However, it allowed all the pubs, all the bars to stay open way past 11 o'clock, which meant the nightclubs were getting customers a lot later, obviously impacting on their trade, meaning that they had to make up for lost sales. So late night licensing is one thing, and that's a national thing here in the UK. The other big factor that came into force a number of years ago now here in the UK was the smoking ban. So you're no longer allowed to smoke inside of venues. Now, I get that that is very common now in a number of different countries, and I don't necessarily think that this is a negative thing at all, because it's, smoking is of course bad for your health, but it definitely does impact the flow of the night, the fact that a lot of the crowd are outside most of the night smoking and talking with friends rather than being in the venue, immersed in the moment. The atmosphere since the smoking ban in a lot of nightclubs has definitely had a negative impact as a result of this ban. but arguably you can't say it's a negative thing, but it has had an impact. At a more local level, local councils generally do not like late night venues, they don't like nightclubs, they don't like bars, because they are associated with noise pollution, loud noise, antisocial behaviour, and of course mess in the streets, which council workers will have to sort of clean up afterwards. Although I do work for clubs that do look after the areas outside of their venues. Now, of course, councils would love a town or a city with no nightclubs at all. They would prefer a town or a city that's filled with luxury apartments, generating them income through council tax and not having to, say, police the streets, putting extra staff on to clean, etc., etc. And yes, I do understand that to a certain degree. However, what I think the council do overlook sometimes is the fact that the nighttime economy does generate jobs for people, whether that be security staff, management teams, bar staff, the DJs, the local taxi firms, and also as well the local food businesses that are open after hours. So I do think sometimes it's a little bit short-sighted by councils. However, it is certainly a challenge, and whilst I do agree that venues should be managed properly, unfortunately, the venue cannot control the actions of every single individual. And there are, you know, amongst the masses that are enjoying their night out, some people that, you know, do let things down for everyone else. And sometimes I do think venues are unfairly penalised. But that is a factor as to why someone may choose to no longer operate a venue, because on every tiny little sort of incident, it could be seen as sort of a mark against your license. Final point to mention at a government level, and that is corporation tax, business rates, and just general costs of things. It is expensive to run a venue here in the UK, and costs have soared in recent years with the increases in energy prices. And so as a result, unfortunately, for many businesses, it is no longer viable to operate. A lot of the costs they have to pass on to customers, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because then customers perceive the venue to be too expensive and then they don't come. So, you know, it does make these businesses no longer viable. Linked to costs, and this is moving away now from government policy, is the cost of living crisis here in the UK. Now, prices all around the world have generally gone up, but here in the UK we have seen real high inflation that has not really gone down over the past year, and as a result people are having to pay out way more for essentials, which leaves less money in the wallet for recreational activities. So the first thing that they're going to probably drop is that social night out with friends, you know, going to nightclubs, going to events, seeing their favourite band or whatever it is. People just simply cannot afford to do so. And because this pressure has been around for quite some time now, people are really starting to see the pinch and are probably focused on paying for more essentials versus, you know, recreational activities such as going out, which is an absolute shame. Moving on then to other reasons as to why venues are closing down. And I've got to say it, the industry itself is to blame. A lot of nightclubs here in the UK especially have not innovated. They haven't moved with the times, and they are operating to the same business model that they were 10, 20 years ago. Some of the venues look dated, they're putting on the same style of events, and there is just no real investment into the actual product itself. People have moved on, and unfortunately the industry has not moved on with it whatsoever. Some of the venues that I have worked in recently look the same as they did 10 years ago, and they still operate the same opening times, they have the same drinks on offer, they have this DJ booth in the same place, they have the same resident DJ and the same music policy even. The nights have not innovated at all. Some venues that are thriving are absolutely smashing it on the innovation side of things. You know, you look at, say, the brunch scene in London, where people, you know, sit down, they've got a DJ playing, but there's more of a sort of a party atmosphere, but whilst having food and some drinks, which is absolutely fantastic. Some venues are sort of repurposing the building so that they almost have two sessions. So they have like a band on first and foremost, playing from say 6 till 10 o'clock. Then they shut the venue for an hour, clear all the equipment out, and then reopen as a nightclub later on. So it's making the venues sort of more multi-purpose and making use of the operating hours available to them. That is innovation, but some of the nightclubs that I'm working in certainly are not doing that. And as a result, I do think they are going to get left behind. As we know, there's a tighter window in which they have to make money. And unfortunately, if you're not innovating, you will eventually evaporate. It is just a fact. So the industry is also partly to blame for this. And then some final reasons as to why I think these venues unfortunately are closing down is just because people are not going out as much due to things like this, the smartphone. The way in which we socialize has fundamentally changed over the last 10 years. Yes, we have always had text messages and phone calls for a number of years now, but the fundamental way that people used to socialize was via face-to-face interaction. Nowadays, I can catch up with my friends via FaceTime, I can see them, I can do it via a PlayStation if I wanted to, playing a game with them online. I can find out what they're doing via their Instagram stories, whereas before, we had to meet with them face to face to sort of catch up, and that has kind of evaporated. The pandemic and being locked at home has accelerated the fact that more and more people are used to socializing via technology than via face to face. And we have a generation of people that have turned 18, which is the legal age to go out here in the UK, and they don't know any different. So as a result, you know, it means less footfall in these venues. I do think technology is a major contributing factor to this. I also think, in addition to the way in which we socialize, the way in which we consume music has also changed. With Spotify, which is on my phone, once again, I have access to billions and billions of songs. Whereas back in the day, I sound really old when I'm saying that, but like back in the day, we discovered music by going out to venues. It was a main source of musical discovery. Whereas now, people have already discovered it before they're going out, which is really quite sad, I think. But I remember when I was 18 going to nightclubs, hearing DJs play and thinking, oh my God, what is this song? I really want to get this song, or I really want to know what song it is. And then the following weeks you'd hear it on the radio. You know, that is the way in which we got our music, whereas now everyone has access to everything, which means that the venues almost don't serve a purpose for musical discovery as much as they used to. So technology has got a major sort of part to play in this. And then finally, of course, we need to talk about social media in general. I recently did a video about our mobile phones killing the dance floor. It seems that everywhere you go, people just want to hear the biggest tracks and they want to film it so that they can share it on social media. It almost seems like gone are the days of just going out with your friends, sort of living in the moment and drinking and dancing. It's almost like you have to be seen to be in the coolest venue and the coolest places possible simply to share it on social media, as opposed to living in the moment and being there with your friends. And I think that's a bit of a shame. I could be very, very wrong on this. However, I do think it is the case these days that it's almost like not cool to be seen in maybe your high street bars, the sort of the venue that isn't that glamorous. You need to be seen in the venue that is most Instagrammable, that looks really, really kind of like nice in the surroundings, versus just going out with the right people, having a good time, and not really caring about what you post online. But those are just my thoughts. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. So I've spoken a little bit there about some of the factors as to why I think these venues might be closing down. Now, these are just my opinions. I could be completely wrong. Of course, I'm all about trying to invite some discussion. So please do let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. But now we've covered off that, what can we all be doing to try and minimize the impact of these venue closures? Can we reverse the trend? Now, I don't think it's a job for any one particular person. Of course, it's an absolutely mammoth task because this is happening countrywide. It might even be happening worldwide. I'm not sure about outside of the UK. But here are some of my ideas of what we could be doing to try and minimize these closures if enough people get on board. Now, a lot of you watching this will already be DJs, so of course you're probably already on board with this and don't want to see venues closed down, but these are just some general points that I want to cover off. First and foremost is spreading awareness is the first thing. So articles like that one written in DJ Mag. Majestic put a video out recently on his Instagram. He's a well-known UK DJ, just to try and spread awareness of the topic.
2023 was the worst year in history for venue closures. Last year saw over 125 grassroots venues across the United Kingdom close down. Now in 2024, we need even more support in the nighttime industries.
I think it's really, really good to keep talking about this particular topic. The more people in the know, the more people might want to get on board and do something about it, whether that be increasing their nights out by one a month or actually venturing out of the house, you know, because they don't go out at all. Every little helps. On an industry side of things, I think they need to be innovating a lot more. As I mentioned, a lot of nightclubs, I think, risk getting left behind simply because they're not changing their business model and their strategy. On a more individual level, I think the impact of what people post on social media can go a long way. You know, slagging off DJs, bands, etc., just because they're not playing your favorite song or a song that you recognize at every moment of their set does not necessarily mean it's a bad performance. Similarly, if the venue has run out of, I don't know, sugar-free Red Bull at the bar, it doesn't mean it's a dreadful venue to visit. You know, you don't know the impact that you are having on other people that could have potentially visited that venue, because social media, as you know, can be pretty far-reaching, especially if you have an audience. So I think let's not stop posting, because I don't think we will be able to. Social media is here to stay, and I don't think we are going to stop the cameras on the dance floor. But let's just think about the impact of what you are posting. And if it's got no justification behind it, then perhaps it's best not to post it at all. Final thought then of the night, and that is just being more open-minded about the venues which you are visiting and the artists which you are going to see. Just because that DJ is not in the DJ Mag Top 100 or that band hasn't released a chart-topping single does not necessarily mean that they are a dreadful artist or, you know, a bunch of musicians. Similarly, if you're not visiting a venue that's that well known and it might be not the nicest, it may not have the biggest budget, but do you know what? It doesn't mean that it's going to give you a bad night out. I think if everyone was just a little bit more open-minded and focused on being in the moment and sharing memories with friends, I think personally the nighttime economy would be in a much better place. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. If you have made it this far, please do give me a thumbs up. It would be greatly appreciated. It helps me more than you know. And I will see you in the next video, hopefully with something a bit more positive to talk about. See you in the next one.